Hi everyone, and welcome to F-Bomb Friday. I am your host, Tracy Preston, along with my husband, Todd. Hey, hun.
Hey, baby.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's hit it. Grosse Pointe, Michigan has a rich French heritage stemming from early settlers who arrived in the area in the 1700s. These French families established farms and played a significant role in the area's development. Many of these farmers established ribbon farms, which were long, narrow plots of land extending inland from the waterfront, often 3 miles deep, transitioning swampy areas with fertile clay soil into ideal farmland. Intermarriage between French settlers and indigenous native peoples gave birth to a blend of cultures and folklore. This legend of Loup Garou predates the American Revolution, when much of Michigan was vastly quite wild. The story takes place in the early to mid 1700s and was written about by Marie Caroline Watson in her book Legends of Detroit, which was published over 100 years later in 1894. As the story is told, years before the British built their great fort at Grosse Pointe, a trapper named Simone had settled near the lake. His wife had passed away shortly after their marriage, leaving him a single parent of 2 beautiful daughters. His daughter Archange carried the likeliness of her mother and washed away Simone's grief. He was a strong, hardworking man who was hardened and gruff. But his love for his girls had softened his rough manners and made him a gentle, loving father. He watched with pride as Archange, his pretty flower, as he called her, grew into a fine young lady. He taught her all he could, in which all things she excelled. She was light-hearted and cheerful, with her dark hair, dark eyes, and sun-kissed complexion. She was the belle of many admiring eyes. But it was Pierre Lafontaine, a young, capable farmer, that won her heart. Pierre asked Simone for his daughter's hand in marriage, of which he gave his consent and blessing. The proud father rejoiced in Archange's happiness. One evening, after spending the day working on the construction of their new cabin, Pierre returned Archange to the shore of her father's home. As she lovingly watched him row away in his canoe, she lingered there on the beach. As she sat and daydreamed, she was startled to a shriek when a monster with a wolf's head and a long tail, standing upright as a human, crossed her path. Simone, hearing his daughter scream, threw open the cabin door, and she flew into his arms. The beast, surprised by the father, fled into the woods. Archange described the best she could what she'd encountered to her father. Simone's face grew pale as he recalled stories he had heard as a youth. It was the dreaded Loup Garou, a werewolf that had stolen young children, sometimes luring young brave men into the woods, never to be seen again. But it was young maidens the beast showed the greatest fondness for. This made Simone extremely concerned for his daughter's safety. He knew many had tried to kill the creature before, but all attempts had failed. The father had hoped that all would be well. However, he could not shake his feelings of worry. The wedding day was here at last. Archange entered the forest to gather wildflowers for her bridal bouquet when the Loup Garou crossed her path yet again. Only she didn't recognize the beast this time, as he had carefully tucked his tail from sight and was wearing a man's coat and hat. Seeing that she did not flee in terror as she had before, the Garou gave a grin, which displayed his wolfish tongue and teeth. Well, she recognized that, and she ran like the wind, making it back just in time for the wedding. Soon after she joined Pierre, hand in hand, the two were wed. Festivities were held at the couple's new home. The newlyweds greeted their friends and family. Whilst the party was at its height, the dreaded Garou swept in a rush, seized Archange, and escaped her into the woods. All were paralyzed in their shock of the moment, except Pierre, who started in a quick pursuit, guided by the despairing cries of his bride. Soon, all of the men followed as the women and children prayed. Later that night, the men returned. The beast had escaped. Pierre had not returned. His friends finding him at the edge of the swamp, clutching a piece of Archange's wedding dress. From then on, Pierre would always return to the swamp, remaining there for hours, gazing into the stagnant waters until someone would guide him home. At the marriage of his sister, about a year afterward, Pierre, who always seemed to be dead to the outside world, was on high alert during preparations. After the ceremony, he rushed into the woods as if chasing something. He returned at sunset, his hair a mess, eyes wild, and his clothes torn. He had chased a Loup Garou to the edge of the lake. The animal, seeing no escape, stood on a boulder at the water's shore, its arms stretched out as if beckoning to some mysterious one. At that moment, a large catfish broke the water's surface, mouth opened wide, and gulped down the Loup Garou. The footprint of the wolf is still present today in the boulder at Grosse Pointe. It is said that no Canadian will eat catfish to this very day for fear of ingesting the curse of the Loup Garou. Now, to better understand the Loup Garou, let's dive a little deeper into what a werewolf is. It is a creature of the night, a monster, a symbol of humanity's eternal struggle with our primal selves. Werewolves represent the duality of human nature, the tug of war between our civilized selves and the primal instincts that lurk beneath the surface. This struggle is often depicted as a battle between reason and passion, with a full moon serving as a catalyst that unleashes our most basic impulses. Think of it like the id versus the ego, with a werewolf embodying the unbridled id that threatens to consume us all. The transformation is often portrayed as a loss of control, highlighting the fear of succumbing to our darker impulses. This loss of control can be seen as a metaphor for the fragility of human rationality in the face of primal urges. It's like the veneer of civilization is just a thin layer waiting to be ripped away by the full moon's call to the wild. Werewolves also symbolize the power of the unconscious mind, representing the parts of ourselves that lie beyond the reaches of our rational selves. The full moon's influence can be seen as a symbol of the unconscious forces that drive us, often in ways that we're not even aware of. Historically, werewolves have been associated with outcasts, outlaws, and those on the fringes of society. This speaks to the fear of those who don't conform to societal norms, highlighting the tension between the individual and the group. In many mythologies, lycanthropy is portrayed as a curse of a disease, symbolizing the fear of corruption and the breakdown of social norms. This fear can be seen in the way werewolves are often depicted as being contagious, spreading their condition to others through bites or scratches. They can also represent a longing for a more primal, natural way of life. The call of the wild is a powerful symbol, speaking to our deep-seated desire to break free from the constraints of civilization and a reconnection with the natural world, a nostalgia for a lost era when humans were more closely tied to the land and the rhythms of nature. The werewolf legend has its roots in ancient mythologies, with appearances in Greek and Roman folklore. One of the earliest recorded stories is the tale of Lycan, a king of Arcadia, who was transformed into a wolf by the god Zeus as a punishment for his cruelty and savagery. This mythological theme of transformation as a punishment or curse would become a recurring motif in werewolf lore. In medieval Europe, the legend took on a more sinister tone, often associated with witchcraft and demonic possession. The idea of shape-shifting humans was seen as a threat to the natural order, and those accused of being werewolves were frequently persecuted and executed. The most famous example of this is the werewolf trials of the 16th century France, where dozens of people were accused of lycanthropy and put to death. The modern concept of werewolves as we know it today, however, is largely influenced by 19th century literature, particularly in the Gothic and Romantic movements. Works like John Polidori's The Vampire in 1819 and Sabine Baring Gould's The Book of Werewolves in 1865 helped to popularize the idea of shapeshifters and solidify the werewolf's place in popular culture. In the 20th century, werewolves became a staple of horror cinema, with films like The Wolfman in 1941, starring Lon Chaney Jr. The idea of a human transforming into a wolf-like creature under the light of the full moon has become an iconic trope, influencing countless films, books, and TV shows. Today, the legend of werewolves continue to captivate audiences with modern retellings, often exploring themes of identity, humanity, and the struggle between instinct and reason. From literature to film to folklore, The werewolf remains a powerful symbol of the wild and the unknown, tapping into our deepest fears and fascinations. Whether you're a fan of horror, folklore, or just a good story, the werewolf's enduring appeal is undeniable, and I might say, here to stay. I didn't know that the werewolf was a curse by Zeus.
I've never heard that story either.
I find that interesting.
Yeah, werewolves have been around for a long time. And I love the antiquity of this story. You can clearly see the influence of the Native American peoples with the giant catfish coming in and swallowing up the werewolf. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. But with the French influence, the whole fear of werewolfism out there kind of goes hand in hand with the witch trials. People being afraid of people that were a little different. They gots to go.
Well, I guess I never knew that they were persecuted like witches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're like, oh, maybe he's beastly, or who knows, he was strolling in the moonlight. He's a wolf.
Yeah.
He's a werewolf.
Well, yeah, and it was suggested in this legend that the Loup Garou, he gained that curse because he forgot to say his prayers on Easter. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was his punishment. And this boulder that the Loup Garou had his paw print on is still there in Grosse Pointe. It's not in its original location. It's been moved to a different location, which is...
So they actually pulled up this boulder and moved it somewhere specifically to memorialize
Yes.
the story?
Yes. So the boulder was moved to Grosse Pointe Farms Water Filtration and Pumping Station. So it's on the corner there of Chalfonte Avenue and Kirby Road. Now, I looked up to see if I could find a picture of the boulder, which I did. I found a picture, one single picture. Mm-hmm. It's not clear. You cannot see a paw print, but maybe it's one of those things where you have to really see it in person in order to see the detail of it, because from the picture it just looks like you're looking at a giant boulder. So
Well, and also, if we think about the time frame,
right,
with time and weather and all of that,
exactly
can wear down.
Well, just like the tombstones that we saw at the cemetery, where they were just so old it was so hard to see the detail in it anymore.
Right, because this is from the mid to late 1700s.
Right.
That's a long freaking time ago.
That's a long freaking time ago. That's one of the things I really liked about this story was its antiquity. Before the United States was even the United States even.
Right.
But it happened in Michigan before Michigan was a state.
Love it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I've always loved werewolves. I always thought they were cool ever since I was a kid. Of course, most people know I'm an artist. Well, I come from a family of artists, and I remember asking my Uncle Dennis to draw a picture of me as a werewolf, and which he did, and it turned out pretty cool, but I remember being disappointed because it wasn't ferocious enough,
It was like a caricature style like he likes to do.
So I turned out looking like Eddie Munster.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're like, no, it's got to be more ferocious.
Yeah, I'm thinking more
snarl and growl.
Yeah, like the werewolf from Michael Jackson's Thriller video. That's what, because
that was of the time back then.
That was about the time, yeah. And my favorite werewolf movie is American Werewolf in London. I've seen lots of werewolf movies before and since, and that's still my favorite.
Yeah, I gotta say, as I was reading the story, that's exactly what was going through my mind, because I agree with you.
Yeah.
That is by far the best werewolf movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then there's the other one with Jack Nicholson.
Wolf. Yeah.
That was also pretty good, but still, I think the American Werewolf in London beats it.
Oh, and then there's the new one, the Wolfman with Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, that one was good.
And who's the other actor in there?
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
And Emily Blunt was in that movie.
Emily Blunt was in there.
I love her.
Yep, I do remember that too.
Yeah, The Wolfman.
That was a good movie. I think the thing I liked the most about The American Werewolf in London was the combination with the subtle humor, and it shows the struggle between his humanity and the wild side that came out. You see that repeat in the werewolf stories where there's always that struggle. It's a metaphorical legend, that's being told over and over again because it's within us. We're constantly struggling with what we should do and what we want to do. You know what I mean?
Right. So becoming a werewolf unleashes all the control.
Yeah.
Your desire, your lust.
Exactly.
Thirst.
Yeah.
All of it.
And maybe that's why I like the werewolves. I want to be a wolf man. I just want to be a crazy wild man.
Right. You and most men, hun.
Yeah.
Can't we just unleash? No, damn it.
Hear me roar.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. So, the Wolfman, we should go back to that. I think if I had to list the 3 movies of my favorite werewolf movies, American Werewolf in London, I think The Wolfman, and then Wolf with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, yeah.
If I had to place those 3.
Now, I was pretty impressed with how well they did the werewolves in the Underworld series.
Oh, yes.
But I'm not a huge fan of the story itself. I'm more lean toward the vampire side of the story than the werewolf part of the story. But as far as making a realistic looking werewolf, I think they did a really good job in those movies.
Yeah, the Underworld, they did a great job.
Yeah.
All right, now I have to realign. American Werewolf in London, Underworld, the werewolf,
Okay.
the wolf, or wolf.
Wolf. Yep.
There we go.
Yep.
That's it. Don't you throw another one at me. I'm going to have to redo it again. And some of the old ones, and I do remember, in fact, when I was really young, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about it. Maybe my dad was watching it or something real black and white, real kooky-looky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, is that cheesy?
But
it's still creepy.
That's probably the Wolfman with Lon Chaney.
Oh, maybe it is.
Because I remember my dad used to watch scary movies, the old scary movies every once in a while.
Yeah.
And I remember, so this is not a werewolf movie, but I remember him watching the movie The Mummy, and I was supposed to be taking a nap. I think I was like,
you sneak out of bed again.
3 or 4 years old, and I came sneaking out, and I saw the Mummy on the screen, and of course he's walking like at a snail's pace, and I'm scared out of my wits. And,
of course.
Of course, my dad got a good chuckle out of it. You're scared of the Mummy? Look how fast he's moving.
Right.
He's just a bag of bones.
Yeah, but you know what? That freaking mummy, like Jason and Friday the 13th,
right?
They can walk and you can run.
Right.
They will get you.
Yeah.
You can't escape.
Yeah. And now let's talk about the Michigan Dogman.
Okay.
The Michigan Dogman is essentially a werewolf, right?
Right.
So I'm kind of thinking this is a little bit different because maybe the Dogman stays in that form all the time. I don't think he's a shapeshifter.
Yeah, I don't recall you saying he howled at the moon either.
No.
Or that he only came out in the full moon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess it's only truly when the moon is full that the transformation occurs.
Right.
Now, did this thing summon the catfish, or was it just the catfish was like, I'm going to eat you? I'm going to help and get rid of you.
Yeah. And I think Garou called upon this ancient fish to come and save him, basically. Get me out of here because I'm done. I'm out of here. I'm not gonna get away with it this time.
So he called him to eat him.
Yep, come and get me.
My time is done. Or maybe I'm just tired of this life.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. The curse probably got to him because it is suggested in this story that this individual retains his mentality. Mm-hmm. He still knows who he is and who he was before this curse happened to him. So he still has all that still stuck in his head. So again, you've got the battle of the duality that this guy is dealing with,
Right, and he's probably just so upset because he can't stop himself from taking the children, taking the maidens,
Right.
and I guess eating them, right?
Yeah.
The need for flesh.
According to the story, lots of people tried to kill this beast and were unsuccessful. There was mention of one brave hunter that fashioned a bullet out of silver and shot the beast, and perhaps that's where the silver bullet legend came from, was from this particular story. He shot the beast and still didn't kill it, but he severed its tail, and then the tail was kept by the Native American people, and they dried it out and stuffed it, and it was like a kind of like a holy relic from there on out.
Like maybe something that would even protect them.
Could be like a charm. Yeah.
Don't mess with us, we'll take your freaking tail. See this, we've done it before, we'll do it again.
Right. Well, that also leads me to believe that this wasn't the only Loup Garou.
Well, couldn't have
too,
been.
because this fella had a tail. So,
Right.
and they never say anything about a tail being able to grow back. If you turn back into a human, though, do you have like part of your tailbone missing?
Well, let's
Or
think
an
about
injury or something?
the American Werewolf in London. You just, when you transformed, it sprung out.
Yeah.
Maybe when you're going back into the human form, you drop the tail like a lizard. How about that?
Or
Oh.
just sucks back up into your tail hole.
It goes into your tail hole. What tail? What? Tail hole.
Tail hole.
I like it. That's good. Great story, hun.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So, you want to sign us out, hun?
I do. You better lock your doors. You better lock your windows. And you might want to check under your bed.
And if I see that Loup Garou, I'm chopping his tail off and hanging it on my bedpost.
You better chop it off before it sucks back up into the tail hole.
I know, because that's the only way to do it. Oh, and I better have a silver bullet.
You know
Pow!
what? Just keep a handy catfish by your bedside, just in case.
I'm getting a catfish.
There you go.
There you go. I'll just put the damn catfish under the bed.
There you go.
Bingo. Not today, Loup Garou.
Not today. And guess what? We will see you again.
What? I'm very surprised.
Guess what?
What?
We will see you again on Malice Monday.
I'll see you on Monday.
For more awesome content, like and subscribe now.